During the Tournament of Power, Goku was first exposed to the amazing power and the amazing transformation that was Ultra Instinct. And for a while, Vegeta saw that form and wanted to access it. But over time, he realized that becoming an Ultra Instinct expert was not really his forte. He wanted to go down his own path. And thus, that birthed what is known as Super Saiyan Blue Evolution. And on this edition of the Transformation Guide, I'm going to explain to you everything we know about Vegeta's Super Saiyan Blue Evolution transformation. And I hope you enjoy it. And by the time it's over, you will have everything, all the information in your brain. Super Saiyan Blue Evolution is an interesting one. It may share some similarities with Perfected Blue from the manga, but it's not quite the same thing, neither are its origins. I have already released a transformation guide on not only the base Super Saiyan Blue, but also Perfected Blue in the archives here on the channel, so check that playlist. Let's talk about Super Saiyan Blue Evolution. I find it interesting that with Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, there are obvious ideas for this form that were taken from some of the things Vegeta did in the original manga, but Akira Toriyama, as far as we know, had nothing to do with this transformation. This form was created by Toei Animation and was originally conceived and illustrated by Dragon Ball Super chief character designer Tadayoshi Yamamuro, who also was an animation supervisor and a director on various Dragon Ball projects since all the way back in the 90s. There has never been any mention of Blue Evolution outside of the anime and maybe Heroes. We have not seen it in the manga, we haven't seen it in any of the recent movies, and Toriyama himself has not revealed anything about it, but we have seen Toriyama's illustrations for Ultra Instinct, and of course the new forms in Dragon Ball Super Superhero. So that would lead us to believe, based on the fact that we've only seen Yamamuro's designs, that it was a Toei Animation exclusive form that may or may not get adapted to future episodes, manga, or movies, depending on where they want to go with it. But the concept behind Blue Evolution is one that was visited by the Dragon Ball Super manga with Ultra Ego, and that is the idea that Vegeta wanted to go his own way. From the very beginning of the Vegeta character arc, he's been trying to play catch up to Goku. Out of the two, Goku was always the one to achieve new levels of power, new transformations, while Vegeta was trying to catch up and in many ways built up a lot of resentment inside of Vegeta because of his envy and confusion as to why Goku was able to achieve this power despite him being rated a low-class warrior at birth while Vegeta was a super elite. It didn't make sense to him, and then finally in the Buu saga, Vegeta realized that it's not about what power level you're born with, it's about what you do with the time you are given while you're alive, and thus Goku's hard work and fighting genius is what allowed him to really discover these new levels of power. And that goes all the way into the Tournament of Power when we saw Super Saiyan Blue Evolution for the very first time. But before we saw Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, we saw Goku tap into Ultra Instinct in the actual arc. And obviously it was Ultra Instinct Omen at that time. It wasn't Ultra Instinct with the silver hair, at least not yet. But Vegeta, upon seeing Goku's incredible speed and power with that form, wanted to match up to him and learn Ultra Instinct, but it didn't work out for him. So the more he's fighting with Jiren and the other members of Universe 11, the more he realized that he could not at this point follow Goku's footsteps and instead chose to go his own path, which led him to mutate his version of Super Saiyan Blue into Super Saiyan Blue Evolution. It's been a while, but if you remember, the first time that we ever saw Blue Evolution was during one of the Dragon Ball Super credits, where you see a shot of Goku and Vegeta next to each other, and Goku's in UI Omen, and Vegeta is in what looked like Super Saiyan Blue, but the colors were slightly different. He seemed a bit more glossy. It was more of a royal blue color, and why not royal blue? I mean, he is of the bloodline of royalty. So that was our first kind of hint of what's to come. And then as we saw the fight in the Tournament of Power progress, we then saw that Goku could not maintain Ultra Instinct for very much longer. So Vegeta instead of going down that road would tap into Blue Evolution by tapping into what drove him to be a great warrior, what has always driven him, and that is his own pride. This idea was revisited in the manga version of the Granola arc with Ultra Ego Vegeta. I've already done a video going into the Ultra Ego Vegeta transformation and how it is based on pride and ego. So it's almost like Blue Evolution was possibly inspiring for Toyotaro to write and maybe Toriyama to help out with, or perhaps it's just similar ideals based on Vegeta's character. I've talked a lot about Vegeta's similarities to Beerus, did a separate video about that, and how Beerus is a much more fitting trainer for Vegeta, while Whis is a far more fitting trainer for Goku, although both of them share in the training duties of each of the two fighters. Blue Evolution suits Vegeta better. And although Blue Evolution has never proven to be as useful as Ultra Instinct, it still allowed Vegeta to break his limits and go beyond and fight at his best, shattering what he could previously do, therefore making him a more competitive fighter, and also allowing him to survive the final explosion that he used on Toppo in the TOP. I do think that Blue Evolution and Vegeta making himself stronger had a hand to do with that. The Grand Priest himself states that Vegeta appeared to have broken through his shell, and that allowed him to tap into higher levels of power. Now, when I said it was in reference to stuff from the original manga, a la Dragon Ball Z, the anime, I meant it. Super Saiyan Blue Evolution very much resembles Vegeta's transformation against Second Form Cell when he tapped into what was called Super Saiyan Grade 2, otherwise known in the Western world, thanks to the, quite frankly, incorrect English dub, calling it Ascended Saiyan. The form is Grade 2, and I have done a transformation guide to going into all the details about Grade 2. If you remember, when Vegeta taps into Grade 2, he gets really, really buff. He literally doubles in muscle mass and gets larger and still gains power, but does not sacrifice speed like what Grade 3, which is what Trunks used against Perfect Cell, and unfortunately gave him a handicap, whereas Level 2 or Grade 2 doesn't really do that. And the same thing goes with Blue Evolution. As far as we can see, there's no drawback to using Blue Evolution. So there are similarities, but what makes this different from Ultra Ego or Super Saiyan Grade 2 is that although it is based in Vegeta's pride and his willingness to keep fighting, his never give up attitude, it wasn't necessarily just his and his loved ones. If you remember what happened in the anime, Vegeta was reminiscing on his new friends from Universe 6 Kaba, who Vegeta had become somewhat of a mentor of since the Universe 6 arc. He remembered what they stood for, and he was kind of bummed out that they were at one point wiped out in the TOP, and at that point, he had no idea they would ever be brought back, and thus it triggered his deeper rooted anger and pride to say, I cannot allow this to happen to any more people. I have to fight for my universe. So that is a very noble and, quite frankly, a very Goku/Gohan reason to transform, but it works for Vegeta because, believe it or not, it's not about him. I've noticed during my time here on YouTube that a lot of people don't even know what these words mean. A lot of folks think that ego and pride are synonymous with the word arrogance, and although there are similarities, it's not the same thing. Ego does not work that way. Same thing with pride, because you can be prideful of things that are not just egotistical. You can be proud for your friends, your family, your loved ones. You could work hard on a project. You can have a weight loss goal, and you can be prideful of that. And others who have similar issues, who have similar, roadblocks, they would kind of celebrate you having that kind of pride for your work and even for your own heritage, your race, your country, your religion, whatever. Yes, that is an aspect of pride, but it is not an aspect of arrogance. And I think a lot of people get ego and arrogance confused because that's not the same thing. Also, ego is also rooted in confidence as well. Now, I'm talking about ego, even though this is not the Ultra Ego video, because Vegeta's pride here is not arrogance, where it has been in the past, especially against Cell. Here, it's him finding something to pull from within. When times are tough, you have to find something to pull from inside to get you through the hard times. Goku achieved Ultra Instinct. Vegeta, at that point, his body was not ready to achieve that power, so instead, he focused himself on the passing of his friends and used that to fuel him to be strong. Dragon Ball Super director Megumi Ishitani, who directed episode 131, was interviewed shortly after the episode aired and revealed that Blue Evolution not only was an anime-only form, which I discussed here earlier in the video, but also revealed that it is relative to Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. So when we see Goku and Vegeta side by side facing off against Jiren, they're relatively the same level of power, so it's not quite at Ultra Instinct, whereas in the Granola arc, one could argue that Ultra Ego is a bit closer. We don't really know exactly the differences between mastered or true Ultra Instinct Goku and Ultra Ego, especially since Vegeta has not used that form that often yet, and Goku has more experience with UI. But one would assume that if we see Vegeta use Blue Evolution in the future, it'll likely get stronger, but as of the TOP, it is equal to SSB Kaioken. Also, Blue Evolution is one of the transformations that we do not see Goku achieve. Could Goku ever hit this? Probably. I mean, he's got enough experience and is strong enough to do it, but will we ever see him hit it? As of right now, I'm going to say no. I think this form is going to be sort of Vegeta's specialty, not one that Goku uses, and we never have seen him use it, and that's rare because Goku gets everything. And like I mentioned previously, not only did this form give Vegeta a stronger power, he also seemed to have gotten a second wind. It wasn't like he was magically healed like what Super Saiyan God did in the Battle of Gods arc that I don't know if we ever saw that again, except, did we ever see it again? I don't think so. I'm not really sure we did. But Blue Evolution seemed to have given Vegeta a lot more energy than what he had before. He was tired. He had been fighting nonstop for quite some time, and the form gave him power and gave him stamina. But when you really compare Blue Evolution to Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, we know that Kaioken oftentimes can leave your body burnt out, whereas Blue Evolution does not have that issue. On top of that, we saw Vegeta face off against God of Destruction Toppo, and in Blue Evolution was able to combat Toppo and Toppo's Hakai energy. And to me, that says that, without question, folks, Blue Evolution is a precursor to what we would know as Ultra Ego. Granted, I don't think it was done on purpose. I don't think it was planned out this way. I think it just happens to come out this way because of the fact that we're having these multiple different stories being told from multiple different perspectives, different writers. Toriyama is not the only person writing this story now, and when you have different cooks in the kitchen, you're going to have different flavors, but ultimately the flavors tell the same story, and that is that Vegeta ultimately chose to go his own path. On the next transformation guide, we're going to talk about somebody else who went his own path, and that is Piccolo with Orange Piccolo and Dragon Ball Super Hero. So I'll see you then. Take care.